Mr. Speaker, Albertans were appalled this week by statements made in this Assembly by the Minister of Human Services. On Tuesday, the Minister called out the member for Olds Carstairs, Olds Didsbury Three Hills for not disclosing his interest in adoption. Now, he later offered a sincere apology. Everyone can make a mistake. But on Wednesday, the Minister incorrectly identified the member for Calgary Northwest as the former Minister of Disabilities and blamed her for an egregious practice that was in fact introduced by the current government. These incidents called the Minister's competence into question. To the Premier, what are you going to do about it?
Resign.
Honourable Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's really important to understand that our government is working very hard to improve the situation for people who receive services from PDD, and also to ensure that while we do that, that we work very carefully with those service providers to ensure that the work that is done allows those providers to continue to provide that support so that people don't ultimately find themselves without homes. So our minister has been working very carefully and very closely with those communities and with those service providers and with those clients.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Word supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Calgary Northwest raised serious questions about the new, and I stress new, disgusting practice to have PDD clients essentially put up for bid by service providers, and all the minister can do is quote from old emails and blame the past. But his knowledge of that past is incomplete and inaccurate. He doesn't even recognize that my colleague's past exemplary service within his own ministry never included responsibility for PDD. It is clear that he doesn't know his ministry, either what's happening now, nor what happened in the past. So to the Premier, what are you going to do about it?
Honourable Premier.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I'm going to do and what the rest of this government is going to do is to continue to reach out to support the Albertans who require the services. It may well be that the minister misspoke and identified the wrong minister. That happens. It is not in any way indicative of whether or not he is working very hard every day to ensure that people who receive PDD services get the care they need, and he will continue to do that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, let's try another place that he misspoke. During the Calgary Greenway by-election, the NDP sent out a fundraising email, which I will table, signed by the Human Services Minister. That email said, and I quote, "People of Calgary Greenway are fed up with broken promises and empty platitudes. They want an MLA who can actually get things done for them." Yeah. Really? He says these shameful and disrespectful things about a man loved and respected in our province and beyond, a man that 5 months ago both the minister and the Premier stood in this Assembly and honoured. To the Premier, what do you have to say about that?
What I have to say, Mr. Speaker, is that the member opposite is engaging in a great deal of exaggeration and creative thought to suggest that what was said means what he is suggesting. No, but that is what he was talking forward, and I think that that is quite reasonable, and that's what we did in the election, and that's what we did in the by-elections, and that's what we will do forward. Because you know what, Mr. Speaker? Many Albertans did not have their needs met under the former government, and that's why there is now a new one, Mr. Speaker.